Hi skaters, Natasha here, sports dietitian. So today we're going to talk about vegan nutrition or plant-based nutrition. Studies show that athletes who choose to eat plant-based, focusing on nuts, chickpeas, beans, lentils, soy, edamame as their main source of protein as opposed to animal protein, have the same performance options or capacities. Okay, so someone on a vegan diet or someone on a plant-based diet will perform just as well as someone on a mixed diet as long as they are eating properly to prevent deficiency risk, because deficiency risk in vitamin and minerals is greater in vegan athletes or in athletes who are not eating animal sources such as meat, eggs, fish, and dairy. And so again, studies show whether you're eating a mixed diet where you're having some of the plant-based options along with the animal proteins, or you're having a complete plant-based diet, you can perform just as well and you can be just as healthy with both options as long as both options are done properly. So when we're talking about done properly, we're talking about making sure that you are getting protein. Okay, the three parts of the plate. I know I always come back to this, but protein every time you eat. And we'll talk about those sources when we're talking about vegan or vegetarian options. Then we're talking about the source of grains, whole grains, bread, pasta, rice, cereal, oatmeal. And then we've got our fruit and vegetables for antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and such. And of course, for carbohydrate in our fruit as well. Now, the big comparison when we're looking at a vegan meal or a vegetarian meal compared to a meal with animal protein has to do more with the amount of food that is necessary to achieve the full protein need. So the amount of protein that you will need as a skater is about 0.3 grams per kilo of body weight that you weigh. For most of you, we'll be looking anywhere between 15 grams to maybe 25 grams of protein per meal. Okay, so if we were to look at, let's say, 20 grams of protein, you can get that from about the size of the palm of your hand if you're having something like fish. Now, if you're having plant-based sources, it would probably take about 2 cups of just chickpeas or only kidney beans, which would get sickening. So what you'd want to do so you can still enjoy your meal is combine. Okay, so the key to success in plant-based nutrition is combinations when it comes to protein sources. So instead of having only chickpeas the way you would have maybe only salmon as your protein source, you would want to have maybe chickpeas along with quinoa, which will give you protein and grains. And then we might throw some edamame in there, or you may choose to have tofu cubes in there as well. Maybe nuts would end up going on your salad. So there's a lot of different ways we can combine it to make it delicious so that you're not requiring a full cube of tofu, but instead you're combining a lot of different protein options, maybe a glass of soy beverage on the side, just in order to get all your 20 grams of protein for that meal. Okay, now vegans have a higher risk for deficiencies, as mentioned. Calcium can be found in soy. And so it can also be found in other foods such as broccoli, for example, but the amount you're required to have if you're aiming to get about 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day, you need to eat a lot of broccoli to get there, right? So if you're having soy options, which will give you protein as well, we're looking at maybe 300 milligrams of calcium per portion. So we'll get a lot closer if we're having those types of options throughout the day as well. So again, adding soy in for protein and calcium, wonderful option for plant-based eating. And you don't have to be 100% plant-based or vegan, but if you want to include some plant-based meals in your week, that is an awesome option, and it is very achievable. Now, it's also great on the budget because a lot of the beans, lentils, chickpeas, and such are a lot better for the budget. Even adding TVP, textured vegetable protein, to your chili can be a lot less expensive. Now, iron is another risk for deficiency, and what I often recommend to athletes, it might sound a little silly, but iron fortified baby cereal. If we look at the level 1 iron fortified baby cereal, there is no added milk powder in it. It's very pure. It's recommended to 6-month-olds who are starting to eat cereals. And so this may be a rice cereal, it might be oats, but it's sort of like a powder. And you're instructed on the label to just add your own milk or to add your own water to that powder, to that cereal. And so what I've encouraged athletes to do is to make sure you look on the back of the pack and that you look for the ones that are higher in iron. So the ones that contain 80 to 100+% of daily value for iron. What we want to do is we want to bake with this. So if we were to take this cereal and trade out half of the flour in a muffin recipe for the iron fortified baby cereal, we are adding in some regular iron that is in a pretty good quantity. Thereafter, I strongly recommend that you add berries maybe into those muffins, or maybe you're having a glass of orange juice on the side of the muffin, because the vitamin C will help you absorb that iron even better. Okay. B12 is another deficiency risk for those who are vegan or plant-based every day. And so adding nutritional yeast, even if you're making tofu cubes in the air fryer, you want to give it a little bit of taste, adding nutritional yeast can give it a great taste while also helping you get your B12 vitamin needs. So vitamin D is a deficiency risk for vegans, but it is also a deficiency risk for those with mixed diets. So if we live in Canada, there is a high risk of vitamin D deficiency. And especially if you're not traveling and spending your winters where it's warmer and where you're getting more sun, or if you're wearing sunscreen, if you're wearing clothing. So we want to make sure you're supplementing with a vitamin D3 supplement on a daily basis, whether you just consume some plant-based options every now and then, or whether you are full-on vegan. And this will help with recovery, so reducing inflammation so you can have quicker recovery. It can help with in the process of creatine phosphate utilization and renewal, which comes from your body's natural ability to generate the creatine phosphate and to produce explosiveness. Now, what's very much recommended for athletes, high performance athletes in general, but especially for anyone who is vegan or plant-based, is to do blood work on a regular basis. So it might be, you might do your blood work, and if everything comes back wonderfully, then you might not have to do it for another 2 years. If you end up with a deficiency, you might have to do it again in 3 months to 6 months. So your doctor will help you with that. But we want to make sure that you are aiming for the blood work ranges of an athlete and not the ranges where the general public should be. For example, your iron needs, your ferritin needs would be very different if you are, an 80-year-old person walking your dog around the block versus if you are a skater who is competing nationally, internationally. And so we want to make sure that your blood work is done to prevent any issues in performance from happening. Remember that nutrition is a science, not an opinion, and have a great day.